In Afghanistan, the defeat of the Taliban has been rightly hailed as a great triumph, the first win in America's war on terror. So, what of the next act? Richard Carleton has returned there, but it's not a war story he brings, it's a story about an astonishing place and its amazingly resilient people. Here's Richard.
The war is all but over, we're told, and reconstruction is about to begin. But there's just nothing left here to build on. The whole place is just one big wreck. The central government here in the capital, it requires 5,000 foreign troops, they're mostly British, to prop it up. But even then, the government writ only runs to the city limit. Outside, it's a warlord's paradise. The only thing Afghanistan has got going for it is the resourcefulness of its people. Have a look at this. Now the television's allowed here. Here's a satellite dish fashioned out of fruit juice cans. With the war out of the way, at least for the time being, Afghanis last week resumed playing bushkashi. It's unique to this part of the world. The idea is to pick up a headless calf from the starting circle, gallop it around the oval, and then place it in another circle. If someone gets trampled underneath on the way, well, that's just part of the fun. Every man in this crowd who was here in Kabul 3 months ago was, publicly at least, a Taliban supporter. Hashmat, is the war over?
That's a very difficult question. Is the war over or not? But there is no front line in Afghanistan anymore.
Hashmatullah Moshli is an Afghan-born Australian who came back last year to support the good side, our side, the Northern Alliance. Just before September 11, a civil war was raging here and Hashmat's side was all but defeated. Then came the American bombing. A few weeks later, Hashmat and the Northern Alliance soldiers marched into Kabul unopposed.
Now, I believe that the war has entered a much more dangerous phase, where the enemy has become invisible. And there is no more a front line where you can send a B-52 or a few rockets. Now the war has become a hidden war, and the enemy has moved within the society.
America can't declare this war over until they've captured bin Laden, and there's not much sign of progress there. In the capital, life is tough. The water is questionable, power intermittent, and it's either choking dust or freezing winds. But for some, capitalism is thriving. This is one of the most extraordinary sights anywhere in the world. This is Wall Street, Kabul style. The Afghani currency is truly free-floating. One of the reasons for that is that the government here is so indescribably weak, it couldn't possibly intervene. How much for the dollar?
$1, 32,000 Afghanis.
Too much. 33,000 Afghanis for $1. I mean, it's wilder than Las Vegas here. Yesterday, the currency dropped 25%. A fortnight ago, it appreciated 100%. And to make it even riskier, these 4 notes may look identical to you, but in fact, they have 4 different values depending on which warlord had them printed. That the Afghan currency has any value at all is truly amazing. After all, the only thing backing it is hope. You see, the night before the Taliban fled, their last act was to rob the central bank.
Okay, Mr. Carleton, this is the entrance to our treasury. And the treasury is in the basement.
Mr. Abdul Fitrat, the new central bank governor, spent the Taliban years as an exile in America.
The main door to the treasury. And this was the place. This was the safe where the dollar was stored.
Let's just see what's being done here.
This safe didn't have the key.
Yeah.
At that time, all the people who had the keys weren't present.
So they've used an angle grinder to cut through there.
Yeah, so they broke it. Yeah. They broke it and they got all the dollars.
The $5 million in
$5 million from here.
The bank has plenty of next to worthless Afghanis left. After all, what does it cost to print just one sheet of paper? This load is to give government fuel depot employees their first pay in months. It's about 20 kilos. There's not much security around, but then who'd want to rob you of the stuff? Nevertheless, Afghanistan is still a pretty dangerous place to be. Guns are the rule, and a warlord's ego is measured by the number of bodyguards he sports. During the day, law and order here in Kabul is maintained by mostly European troops. And at night, there's a curfew enforced by a jittery militia. This is the roadblock coming up.
Yes, it's introduction.
Maidan. 16. Amiat!
What would have happened if we didn't have the password?
Well, if we didn't have the password, we would be staying here all night till morning, not allowed to get out of the car. And if he didn't start, he has the right to shoot.
So what are their orders?
The order's right to shoot to kill.
Thanks, soldier. The New Look Justice Ministry is in the same old building where the Taliban meted out their unique justice. And the new minister, Mr. Abbas Karimi, has quite a job in front of him. So even here in Kabul, if you go out at night without the password, you're likely to be shot.
Obviously, you come from a country of democracy, law and order, but Afghanistan inherited violence and war. Our society is shattered. Afghanistan became a base of terrorism. Let's not forget, there are terrorists still around. They could be here, they could be anywhere.
That extraordinary mountain range divides Afghanistan into a north and a south. Roughly, the Tajiks in the north, the Pashtuns in the south. But forever and a day, the rulers, the bosses of Afghanistan, have been the Pashtuns from the south. What American participation in this conflict has done is to turn the tables. Now that's a formula for even more instability. And whilst Afghanistan remains unstable, another bin Laden, another Mullah Omar has to be possible, even probable.
I think the United States, in a way, has lost this war because they made their target very personal and very small. They told their societies that we are going to smoke them out of the hole, and they haven't done that. What has only been achieved is that those who harbored terrorism have been punished. The Taliban, the local people have been punished. Those locals who supported the Taliban.
To look on the positive side for a moment, kids can now fly kites again. The Taliban banned them because they encourage betting. On the street, music stalls make up for lost time. You can now have your photo taken again, albeit not with a digital camera. Girly pictures are available for the sexually repressed. And the cinema has reopened for business. Under the Taliban, I guess men dreamt about scenes like this. But that's not all. Women can now wear ponytails, provided they're discreet, and high-heel shoes that click when the woman walks are no longer prohibited. So some things have changed, but according to Dr. Masouda Jalal, a rather brave female activist, not much has changed.
At family level, the decision-making belongs to man. And the man gives the permission whether to go for education, whether to go for employment, whether to move around or not.
So the woman does as she's told?
Yes, of course. What do you expect?
Whilst the women wait, Afghan men are getting on with the fight. Boxing was banned under the Taliban, as was any sport that exposed unnecessary flesh. Soccer was okay, but in some ways it epitomised the craziness of it all. In Taliban times, you had to wear long-legged shorts, as number 10 still chooses to do today. There was nothing exceptional about today's game, but then it takes a lot to stand out in this stadium, because this is where thieves had their hands chopped off, and where the goalposts were used as a hangman's scaffold. Did you ever see anyone executed, or...?
Yes. One person there, another is another goal. They hang the people.
Maybe a young intellectual will be able to leave that experience behind him. But what of a shoeshine boy?
I saw my cousin killed here. The Taliban said he was a drug dealer and a thief, so they captured him and they executed him.
And the Justice Minister questions whether there's any need for change. So under you as Justice Minister, will public executions continue? Will amputations for theft continue? Will stonings for adultery continue?
The highest court in Afghanistan, the High Court, has not yet put forward guidelines for new civil laws. Once this has been done, I can only as a Justice Minister abide by and implement what the highest court in this country decides.
We believe that the future government of Afghanistan that can make the laws will be a democratically elected government. If that democratically elected government passes a law that the people should be stoned to death, it's a democratic decision of the nation.
Do you think many Australians realise that their troops have come over here to help prop up a government that may well continue with stonings for adultery?
I think those troops came here because they were feeling threatened by the Frankenstein that went out of control, that was created by the Pakistani intelligence and the CIA of America.
Yeah, Bin Laden.
Yes, Bin Laden. They came back to take back their Frankenstein.
Hashmatullah Moshli is an Australian University architecture graduate. Now there's great scope for qualified professionals like him, but what work has to be done? And under destruction like this, there is one mine buried for every 3 Afghan citizens. 10 Afghans are killed or injured each day from landmines. At present rates, demining Afghanistan will not be completed in the lifetime of anybody who's watching this program tonight. The latest technique uses dogs. This is their training area. This sort of demining exploits 2 characteristics that the dog has that humans haven't. I mean, the dog is light enough to step on some mines and not detonate them, and with its fabulous sense of smell, it can detect the explosives that are packed inside the mine. Now, the boss has told me that somewhere out there's a mine hidden. Off you go, mate, see if you could find it. A dozen dogs have put a paw down too firmly, but this fellow was really impressive.
It's anti-personnel mines.
Right.
Made of plastic, made in Pakistan.
Oh, well done, puppy. Congratulations. Aren't you smart? To use the correct bureaucratic language, the other massive problem in Afghanistan is internally displaced persons, refugees by another name. All 5 million of them. This is the squalor that some of those we've incarcerated in the Australian desert have been fleeing. This is the old Soviet embassy compound. So cold here now that leaking toilet waste freezes. These particular desperates are from the winning side. They're northerners, Tajiks. Imagine what it must be like to be a loser up here.
The people of Afghanistan are victims of war. Almost every family has lost a member or two, and they have lost their economic support system.
I doubt that even if the billions promised to Afghanistan are spent wisely, that they can do more than just scratch the surface. On the other hand, though, I can't help but admire those who are able to remain optimistic.
Here people still respect each other. There is a degree of mateship and respect amongst the people. And you can see that every person is trying to make a living, trying to restart their lives. So this comes from a very strong character of the people.
Hello, I'm Tom Steinfort. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our Extra Minutes segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au, as well as the 9Now app.